anybody? Give it a minute. But go ahead and do roll. Or
Okay.
I do roll.
Well, I'll do it.
Joe Pishnary,
Yes.
Josh Aguilar is maybe gonna be here. Daniel Davidson,
Here.
Cindy Koza, Jonathan Hayes. Carla Berg here, Harry Dillon,
Here.
Adam Jenkins,
Here.
Brett Yancey is excused. And Eric Adams.
Here.
Okay. All right, public testimony will be received during business from the audience. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded. Should have called the meeting to order, I'm sorry. 6 o'clock and we're going to call the meeting to order.
Do you want to do the minutes approval?
Oh, do we just want to skip this? Is that what you're saying?
We don't, unless Steve has something he wants to bring up. We don't have any audience members in attendance, so I think we can
Then
skip
I
that.
think that's. All right, minutes. Do we have, has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? If so, do we have any additions or corrections to it? If not, will somebody make a motion to approve?
So.
Which one's first?
Joke and Eric first.
Okay, now this is from the audience, which we will pass over since nobody is in the audience. And we will have no committee response, obviously. And now DC will give business from the.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there was a couple of things that I know folks were interested in. I have a list here and we'll kind of go through that. Feel free to ask questions or whatever. The first thing that I have on the list here is the deflection program. People had some questions or interest in that. So deflection for Lane County, if everybody doesn't know, started October 17th. And so how that program works, especially here in Springfield, it's a little bit different. Actually, I think it's great. People here have more options than in other areas. So Chris Perosa, the DA, worked with all of the law enforcement agencies in the county to develop a program that all of the chiefs would obviously buy off on. And then we started talking to our officers about that. So how deflection works is there are deflection eligible charges and then certain things that exclude you from being deflection eligible. So basically, if you have a low level PCS charge and then also some lower level charges like a criminal trespass or a disorderly conduct or a low level theft 3, you may be deflection eligible for like a theft 3 or a trespass where there's a victim involved in that, like either somebody stole from you or let's say somebody stole from a retail store or something. We have to get permission from the victim to also offer deflection because victims have rights as well. So if you fall into that category and then you don't have a disqualifier, like you can't be a registered sex offender, it can't be anything DV related, there can be no arson charges, can't be a police informant. There's a couple of little things like that that also make you ineligible. But if you fall into that category, you also can't be violent at the moment. You have to be cooperating when the officers arrive. And that's for the safety of the peer navigators that are going to respond for deflection. So what happens if you meet all of those criteria, then an officer asks, would you be willing to participate in deflection? And they kind of briefly explain what the process is. And the person says yes. The officers have a phone number that they call, and that's when a peer navigator, they call and they talk to a peer navigator, they say where they are. And a peer navigator, they've done a really good job and they've been responding in about 15 minutes to have a peer navigator here. That's in the Eugene Springfield area. Now, if you're way out Lane County somewhere, that's different, but I'm talking Springfield. Peer navigator comes out, they talk with the person and they explain a little bit more real quick in a little bit more detail the person, what the program is. And if they say, yes, that's something I want to agree to, then the officer leaves. And the peer navigator works with the person right there. They set up how they want to, follow up with the person. The officer goes back at some point, they write all the reports. They do the PC affidavit. They do everything just like the person would have gone to jail, and they submit it to records. And record sends that to the DA's office, and all of that just gets, it just sits there, it just gets held. I don't know if this is a legal term or if this is my term, it gets held in abeyance, basically. And while the person is participating in the deflection program, those charges just sit. And if the person successfully completes the deflection program, those charges go away. So that never hits the system. If for some reason the person chooses not to participate anymore or just doesn't participate for one reason or another, then those charges can be reissued by the DA's office. The deflection team, which is the deflection case manager, who's retired jail commander Clint Riley. And then the Ideal Options is our service provider that they provide this peer navigators. They meet weekly and they discuss everybody that's in deflection. And they talk about how well they're doing. Are they still participating? Are they showing up for their appointments? What I really like about this program is that when people sign up for it, they sign a release of information so that Ideal Options can talk to the police department can talk to Ideal Options about people that are in this program. That allows us to get feedback, like, Mo's doing great in deflection. He's going to all of his appointments and everything. The officers get that feedback. So then when they see him too, they can say, hey, you're doing a great job. The officers have really appreciated knowing how well people are doing. We have had 5 referrals so far. We've had several people decline. Just some people are like, I'm not ready for that. And maybe at another time, but I'm going to decline that right now. We've had some people who weren't eligible because they've had warrants that don't make them eligible. We've had some people who aren't eligible just because they've been combative with the officers, and that's not an appropriate person to leave with a peer navigator. But overall, it's been very well received, I think, by the officers. They're participating in it. And they really are appreciating that feedback that they're getting. So I think, talking with everybody, the program is off to a really good start. Why I say it's a little bit different, especially in Springfield, is so let's say we have that person who in the moment is not deflection eligible because maybe their behavior. They come here, they get booked on the PCS charges. We have smart court, we have a drug court here, which most other places don't have. So they still have the option to work through treatment options through our smart court, even if maybe say deflection wasn't a viable option that night. And our smart court has been going very well. I don't know the exact number that we have in there. It's over 20, I believe. But we've been seeing some good success with that as well. So deflection and smart court, there's kind of different options for people here, a lot more options than are in other areas. And I think they've done a really good job setting up the deflection program in Lane County, really working with all of the officers. And like I said, they're appreciating that feedback. So yeah.
Is there a cost to the program to the person?
No.
And if they don't take it right then, can they change their mind within a certain amount of time?
So, for us, we refer people to deflection. It is an officer referral program, but I do know that in talking with Clint, and then it's modeled off of some other areas, not necessarily in Oregon, but in other areas. Officers can, if they come across somebody who they're like, hey, I think I'm ready, we can refer them that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so there doesn't have to be a charge involved, but the referral comes through the officers.
You say, Ideal Options, is that the name of the agency that's?
That's the peer navigators, yeah.
Okay. So you guys contract with them?
We don't contract with them, that's the county. So the whole program is run through the county. We just participate in it. Yeah.
And then at the public safety meeting that was a couple of weeks ago, they were saying that there's some gaps for like individuals who have mental health issues in this program. And I was just wondering what that looked like.
So what they say is like, if anybody has like a severe mental health issue where they're not able to like comprehend like what the program would be or something like that, they're like not eligible at that moment. Just because they're not understanding, like they have to sign that release of information, agree to participate in something. And if the officers don't believe that that mental illness is having that effect, then they would be not eligible, but they could still come through SMART.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was the officers making that determination or the navigator, like if the person.
It could be one or both.
Okay,
Like the
okay.
officers could say, hey, I think that they're fine. And then the navigator gets there and they're like, they're not able to process what's going on. They can't agree to this for one reason or another. So yeah. Like I said, it's set for a year. That's what I think the state originally funded it for, and I'm hoping that we have really good results. We are keeping track of people, well, I shouldn't say we, the DA's office is keeping track of people who are successfully completing it. And then, let's say like somebody starts out and then they don't make it through, it does not exclude you from starting it again. I mean, I think everybody in this room understands that, people who suffer from addiction, it's usually not the first go around when they try treatment that it's successful. So it can take multiple tries. So it doesn't exclude them from trying again. But like I said, the deflection team meets once a week. And I've been really impressed with their feedback to us. And I've been really impressed with how fast the peer navigators are getting out. So it's not delaying the officers really hardly at all.
It's been going on for like 2 months.
October 17th, I think, was our kickoff date. Yeah, so almost.
How many participants do you know? How many people are?
I think total referrals is 40 something, but that's countywide.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how many are like still actively, I know that 4 of our 5 are actively still participating. Yeah.
And if somebody goes through this program and passes it
Yep.
and does well, and then it's another crime,
Yep.
do they get to go through it again?
Well, it depends on the crime.
Well, I mean, if it's like the same
Yeah.
crime.
Yeah, I don't think that would make them ineligible for that program, but the deflection folks may make the decision that when they go through and they do their review, that no, that person wouldn't be eligible, and then the charges could be issued. Yeah, the DA's office can make that determination at any time based on someone's participation or non-participation, that they're going to be removed from the program, and then the charges can be issued.
Thank you.
Do you have any data so far on how many, or ratio of how many opt for the deflection versus those who don't?
I think I only know of, and that's one of the things, so it's easy to track the people who go into the program. It's harder for the people who decline it. So I've been really stressing with the officers, if you have a PCS charge or anybody that's deflection eligible, please document in your report why. And some folks are doing a really good job of that, and some people forget. So I had our records department pull all of our PCS reports, and I've kind of gone through and looked at it. We've only had three that I know of decline. Yeah. There were several who weren't eligible, but we've had 3 decline. Yeah. So far. And I think too, so there was a couple folks who were like, no, I'm not ready for that. And then I think there was a little bit of hesitancy, like, wait and see how that program, like, this is a new thing. I don't know what this is. And so maybe like word on the street will get out that it's a good program, and people won't be so concerned about like, what are you doing? And what am I signing up for, kind of thing. So a little bit of hesitancy on folks' part. Yeah. And so that kind of leads into the next thing that I want to talk about. And that's, so when Measure 110 kind of got reformatted into like House Bill 4002, part of that was the state had funding for, we call it JMOOD, which is jail medical opioid use disorder treatment. So most people have heard of MAT, which is medical assisted treatment. So we applied for and got a grant for the Springfield Municipal Jail to start a MAT program in our jail. We don't currently have one. And so the county, I think, has had 1 or more versions of it over time, but this will be new for us. And we just met today. I think it's going to go well. It's obviously it's a grant, so it's a pilot, and we'll have to look for additional funding after the fact. But how it will work is basically we're going to look for folks who are going to be in our custody for probably more than 7 days, because it takes a while. You have to detox, and there's a medical component to being eligible for MAT. And so we are working out the process for that, where folks would have that option that they could start the medical assisted treatment while they're in custody, and then they would be referred again to Ideal Option when they leave. And hopefully that sets them up for more success when they leave our custody. And I can explain it in a little bit more detail if you want, but that will involve our jail medical staff. It's actually more jail medical staff doing that type of work, but it will be offered hopefully at the beginning of the year.
Are there other places in Springfield that offer that?
Matt, I don't know who all offers it. I talked to a gal today who works for one of the pharmaceutical companies, and she was gonna try to set out a list of other places that may offer that. So if people, because another thing too is like if you get arrested here and you're immediately eligible for a lease for one reason or another, you just get a court date or something like that, you wouldn't be eligible for that program. But I also want to be able to refer them to some place. So I can refer them to Ideal Options, and it's my understanding that there might be a couple other places that we could at least give them the information. So that if that's something that they're interested in, they could go do that.
I know when I was doing outreach, there were people that would try to get into the jail so that they could get medical care.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if people would want to commit a crime that would
Yeah.
get them in jail for 7 days.
Yeah. So, and then there's this whole, I don't know if people have heard of this 1115 waiver. And so I think it starts, I think the program starts, don't quote me, in 2026. And so I think there's different correctional institutions that are applying for it now. And it's just something that I've just started hearing about. But right now, how it works, if you get arrested and you're on like Medicaid or OHP or something like that, you get arrested, your health insurance stops because you're in custody, and then the corrections facility is responsible for your care. Well, finally, people are realizing that's probably not the best way to go about it. And so corrections facilities can put in for an 1115 waiver, which will allow the corrections facilities to bill for certain medical expenses like MAT while you're in custody. That coverage would remain. And so we're looking into that and how we would qualify for that. But that's just something that we just started looking at. Yeah, so then hopefully people wouldn't need to do that so that they could get into jail. And then the other thing that we're starting a pilot on is AA programs in the jail. So we've reached out to there's a Lane County, and it's called. Yeah,
Emerald Valley Immigrant.
huh?
Emerald Valley Immigrant, EVI.
H&I is who, yeah, is who we're working with. And so that hopefully will get set up here pretty quickly. I think that the coordinator was reaching out to the volunteers who volunteered for the county jail to see if there's folks who would also be interested in coming and starting the pilot program here. And then we could reach out and see if there are other people in like the Springfield area that would just want to come here. But that's how the program's going to start. So Lieutenant Rapay is working with, I think his name's John from H&I. Don't quote me on John, but I know it's H&I on getting that started. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it should be going pretty soon. We were just waiting to hear back on the volunteers and their availability.
If I can interrupt on that. I know that in the past, there was officers in the room during those, and those typically are not the environment for not. That, and which cause staff shortages.
Yeah.
So how's that been addressed?
So I think what we're gonna do is have it in, and I don't know exactly which room it is, but it's a room that still can be observed so that, we have obviously for safety for everybody, but we don't need to be in there. So it's just, I think that's how the county does it as well, is that, whoever's working in control can see it, but there's no need for them to like hear it or be right there. I mean, that would be a little awkward for everybody in the room, I think, so.
Practice in the past that was causing issues,
Yeah,
and that's great, even a place where an officer can walk by and periodically check.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
fine.
just make sure everything's okay. And yeah, I know historically, I don't necessarily know that previously we worked with H&I. And so now I think that will be even better because for folks that don't know what that is, that's hospitals and institutions. AA has a program for folks who volunteer just in those types of locations, and they're vetted through that. And they know like you cannot bring in, like if you were out in the community, you could bring in snacks or, whatever. You can't do that, right? And so we had issues before where people, I think meaning well, had stuff that they couldn't bring in. And so we won't have that issue and stuff anymore, working with this group. So it should be pretty good.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of council interest in that.
Yes, yes, yes. And our average stay isn't super long, but maybe they'll make a connection and they can continue that outside.
Even if they're there that night of a meeting and it hits home with them that night, that means
Yeah.
when they get out, they can have that bridge, so.
Yep.
It's a long time.
Yep.
coming. Good.
We had lots of awards. I don't know if everybody saw that. We had one officer get the governor's award. So, and that's the third time that award has been given out since they started 8 years ago. So that was very cool. And it was very nice of the governor to come down here personally and do it. I think that meant a lot to everybody. And then we had Officer Garcia Cash get a couple of awards from the Oregon Police Officers Association. There was a call where he helped Eugene and him and his canine partner were shot at. And then the canine was able to go in and help take the person into custody. So they got an award for that. And then I know we hear a lot of times about the officers and all the great stuff they do, which they do amazing things and everything. But a lot of times we forget that there's people who work in the building who make
Dispatcher.
everything run. And without them, we would all just be walking around looking at each other like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. So one of the things and why I say that is because our property and evidence person got an award as well for how well our property room is run, which is very well. And I was at the award ceremony and for example, there was a very small town in Oregon and they brought in a new person because they had not had anybody do quality control in their property room in 40 years. And I thought, I would never take that job because the amount of trying to go back in, and she got an award for how much stuff she was able to figure out where it was supposed to go back to and return stuff and get everything all in order. But I just picture this room in my mind and I'm just like, oh no. So Nikki is our property and evidence manager and she got an award this year too. So it's nice to see that stuff because everybody needs to get recognition for the great work that they do. Speaking of canines, we have 2 new ones. And I promise, Sergeant Keatle has promised me that in the next few days, their pictures will be out because they have both passed standards. So we have Poker and Taro are our new puppies and they are young. So hopefully they'll be with us for a long time, but they're doing great. Officer Garcia Cash and Officer Granillo are their handlers. So that they will be our new partner teams out there. And Officer Granillo and Taro had their first capture earlier this week. So they're out there doing great. Everybody wants to see the dogs. They will be on social media soon.
Breed?
Hmm?
What breeds?
Shepherds. We didn't, I don't think Springfield's really ever had a Malinois. Those are the 2 that people.
One.
Oh, yeah. And then you gave her to Portland and then she became,
welcome.
yeah. Before I left. Yeah, that one I will not forget.
We actually had a hound dog, a bloodhound, I think, back in our first.
Was that a drug dog?
Yeah.
Oh, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not running around catching people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get tired.
Yeah. Portland had a drug pig back in the day, in the 80s.
I remember this.
His name was Cash.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, a pot-bellied pig they had. And that's why I thought, I'm like, only Portland would have a
Right.
pot-bellied pig.
Yeah.
You retire, you get barbecue.
He was pretty
Yeah,
successful.
he was pretty successful.
Oh.
They're smart. All right, so as we've been talking before the meeting started, the Christmas parade is this Saturday. We would love to see everybody. Bring your rain jackets and your hand warmers and an umbrella. It looks like it's gonna rain, but we'll be out there, obviously, handing out the famous calendars and candy canes and stuff. So it'd be great to see everybody there.
They would start getting more involved next year. It's drifted away for a couple of years. It
Uh-huh.
was just a privately run nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so we've already been talking about merging or becoming a bigger partner next year. So
That would
that
be-
they have some better organizations, some more.
We were
controls.
talking about the number of floats
Yes,
and anybody can
yeah,
join.
so.
And it'd be nice to see businesses,
75?
schools, churches, that kind of
Yes.
thing, not just
And
random
floats, not just
Yeah.
trucks.
Joe Blow.
Yeah, Joe who? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can you can have your own float, Joe.
Joe Mama. No, it's yeah, they were fun. It was fun to ride in the convertibles. and
Yeah.
Throw candy at the kids.
Maybe next year my
Throw
car.
candy anymore, you have to hand
Yeah,
it.
we
to
haven't
them.
been able to throw candy for years, but
They-
they still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said, don't throw it, you have to hand,
Yeah.
choose one.
I know, I think I handed out 700 candy canes last year, so. I don't, we're not supposed to, I don't think I.
We're
threw
not
it.
supposed to throw, but it happens.
Some buck the rules.
Oh,
I don't. know if that's-
I'm a rule follower.
We make trouble, we can't eat candy.
I don't think that would be,
I
but
usually throw, does somebody get hurt?
Somebody got.
Kids were
Somebody
like.
could get an eye tape.
next thing you know, get one pop, poke somebody's eye out.
Oh, and I guess kids running, I get that,
Yeah.
it makes sense, okay. Legitimate.
Yeah, and then they, if you're throwing it, throw it on the ground, then they're running
Yeah,
the road to pick it up.
I follow the rules, but we all survived going to parades where they throw.
yeah.
That's
true.
So, apparently, yeah, exactly. And then lastly, our award ceremony this year, will be February 4th in Wildish, so that on your calendars. Hopefully we have some really good ones this year, I know we do,
February what?
February 4th,
It's a Tuesday.
I think so.
Tell her when I couldn't be there when the governor was there because I was elk hunting. They did not plan that very well.
I don't, after being here for a couple years, think we should schedule anything the month of November.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody's heading.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous.
You know what time that award ceremony is at?
4
Okay.
at the Wildish. Yeah, how long are you gonna have your email?
I'll have it for a couple months.
Okay.
You know, there's,
You'll get it.
we do like obviously the internal nominations and everything, but sometimes we, I think, maybe miss some stuff that like community members do.
Yeah.
So if you guys have thoughts on community members that have helped SPD, just maybe let Tiffany or I know. I do know that we have some community member awards this year, but there may just be stuff that for some reason isn't we're not thinking of, and I don't want to miss people. I think it's important. I like giving the community ones too. Any questions on any of that? Sure. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Business from the community, so,
The committee.
yes.
Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Us. So including the policies.
Well, first we need to decide on an annual report subcommittee. We're gonna try to get it done. We normally get it done in April, but I would like to get it done before our February meeting, so that we can try to get on council's calendar. So,
Which is different.
which is very difficult to get on. They keep pushing us away. So if we can get it, the sooner we can get it done, the sooner I can start bugging them about a date. So do we have any volunteers for a subcommittee for the annual report? I think last year it was Eric, Cindy, and Terry.
Well, no,
No?
it was Carla
Carla
and me.
and Terry.
and, yeah,
And you, yeah.
Cindy, yeah.
is that it? You guys want to do it again?
We could share the love with others if they want to.
Be happy to.
Cool.
Thanks, Eric.
So Eric.
Sometimes.
Okay.
You surprise me once in a while. Working. Trying to
I
follow your
will-
lead.
Set up a meeting for sometime in January. Probably not that first week because of the holiday, but
Yeah. That'd be good. Okay. What else do we want?
Carla wanted action items for the statement of purpose, which is build awareness, the first part of the statement of purpose, which is build awareness and outreach between the community as a whole and SPD.
Yeah, what does that look like? Does that mean? Yeah,
Encompassing the whole city.
so I'm gonna walk around and talk to the whole city, like all of us are gonna tell you, right, right?
Whoever you run into.
Oh, it's
Or-
of the agenda.
Okay.
Whoever's in line at Chick-fil-A.
I work on Gateway.
Chick-fil-A, so good.
You're not though.
Yes,
They're not good for you.
yes, they are.
No.
Telling you.
Well, my nephew works at the Chick-fil-A up in Beaverton, and he, apparently Chick-fil-A sends out stuff to their whole company when they open new places.
Yep.
And he said that this afternoon before noon, that Chick-fil-A did $25,000 worth of business, and that the Chick-fil-A that he works at in Beaverton normally does $23,000 a day. So
Wow.
they're doing well. So far today, 6 o'clock was their anticipated busiest hour. I learned all kinds of random, because we went over there and helped them, you know, like, oh, let's do this with the cars and all this kind of stuff. They were hoping that they could get 100 to 120 cars an hour, because this is a new location. And I mean, they've got it down. They know what
Yeah,
they're
they
doing.
are.
So they bring in openers.
Yep.
A whole team to open it. Then they also bring in corporate trainers. And if it gets too far behind, because I mean, it's just new people that are working there, and a lot of them are teenage kids and stuff. They'll plug in these corporate people that just know how to do it, and they'll get that line going, and then they'll put them back in there, and then they'll, you know, kind of teach them. So the record, which I didn't even know how it's possible, the record for cars through a Chick-fil-A drive-through is over 500 in an hour.
That's- It is, the line does not stop. There's two of them, and they have a door, they have a door.
For
on
chicken
the
sandwich.
inside
I
that
think
actually
when I
opens
drove
up.
by the other day, it looked like they had 3 lines.
I don't know how many,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they have the door, instead of a window, it's a whole door, a wall that
Yeah.
opens up so they can run out.
Yep.
And deliver. They're gonna.
Yeah, they had it all decorated and everything yesterday, and,
They
so,
employ 130 of our citizens.
yeah, they,
130.
and so what we're hoping is, you know, obviously this weekend, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be busy. There are people in line at 4 o'clock this morning. And they don't even serve their sandwiches, like their lunch sandwiches, until like 11, so
Mhm.
they were having chicken breakfast, I guess. And so yeah,
4 a.m.
4 a.m. people standing in line.
Yes.
How is the traffic flowing?
So our traffic officers were like in the area because we weren't really sure, but they had it going through. I talked to Officer Party, and he said there were a couple times, you know, it did back up a little bit onto the streets, but they were able to get it going pretty quick. And for the most part, it went so much smoother than I was worrying it was going to. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get a million calls. It's gonna be backed up 2 miles on I-5. And so yeah.
They're remarkable.
Is it not?
Yes, you go inside.
Go inside too.
They got seating, and they say, if you want to stay a couple hours, go for it, no problem. People are welcome to stay and
Very nice.
chit chat.
Part of their culture, their culture, family and friendliness. Come and stay.
The owner, you know, it's all locally owned. And I think his last name was Conrad for some reason. Not
Yeah.
But it's a family guy. He's got some young kids and whatnot, and he's invested in it, and their whole family's engaged in everything. I mean, and the Sunday off thing is, people think, oh, it's biblical, and it's like, not really. The original owner says that family, everyone needs to have time off for family, and Sunday is that day. It's not like, I mean, it happens to coincidentally, but the actual owner says, no, no one in this company is gonna be working on Sundays because they need to be home with family. I think it's awesome.
Well, it's a hit so far.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The deluxe one's really good. It's got cheese, or it's got tomatoes. Sorry. Welcome to the council meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway,
So back to our build awareness and outreach between the community as a whole in this meeting.
Carla wants to know how we accomplish that.
So I just, because part of it, coming from a corporate background, to have a goal, we have to be able to say, check, we did it.
Uh-huh,
These things are very nebulous to me.
uh-huh.
Like, oh, we're gonna do a thing. Like, I wanna be able to say, next year, we did a thing.
Uh-huh.
Instead, and in the 2 years I've been doing this, I don't feel like I've done my job.
You haven't done your thing.
I think we have wrestled with this for as long as I've been on the committee.
Yeah.
But I'll put something out on the table. So I think this last event, I can't remember if it was in previous years, but the Springfield Block Party, SPD had a booth.
Yeah.
Is that an opportunity to just have some
Yeah.
us there?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one event, but
Well, and then like,
Yeah.
well, and I've offered, and I have you on the press releases so that you know about our events, like when we have the open house. Terry's at the open house every year. You're more than welcome to come and talk to community members, let them know that you're, what SPAC is, what you do on SPAC and about SPAC in general, and keep an eye out for openings, if we have openings, so that people can apply if they're interested, that you're always more than welcome to come to our events, the canine competition, the open house.
That's kind of like, that's how I picture it when I read that sentence. What I envision for groups like this is you come here and you get one-on-one time either like, well, today you're with, but normally you get the chief, right? So, and you have intimate knowledge, more knowledge than the average person in Springfield does about how we do things and why we do things. So if you come to these types of events, or, you know, you're on all of our press releases, you get our incident reports and stuff like that, you build awareness and outreach by talking to people about, oh, well, this is why SPD does this. I know that because I helped review this policy, you know, or something like that. So going to all of those events, that's how I see you build outreach. Outreach is very difficult to measure when you're like, I want to be able to say I did these things. We can set up X, Y, and Z, but I mean, it's very difficult to capture. So that's how I feel that you all can really help build that awareness and community is by talking about us to everywhere you go.
And there's a ton of it on social media.
Yeah.
Because I get engaged all the time, almost every day, when people throwing something out there
Yeah.
that's bogus. And I'm able to say, no, that's not really the thing.
Yeah.
You can do this, this, and this, and it happens daily.
And that's really probably
It's huge.
what we can thank you for the most is when you hear something that's incorrect, that you correct it. Or bring it to, oh yeah, or if you bring it to us, like in this meeting setting or something, you're like, I am consistently hearing X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, you guys are out and about in so many different areas for different reasons, bringing that feedback to us so that we can say, oh, we had our SPAC meeting last night, was brought to our attention that there's a lot of confusion around how SPD is participating in deflection, and we can push that out. Yeah.
Well, and that's why the committee is made up of the different, the business community.
Yeah.
And the cultural minority community and the faith community, so that we kind of get the perspectives from those communities.
So Carla, would this be something tangible we could accomplish that first statement? I mean, all of us are busy. I mean, we're not looking necessarily for something to do outside of this meeting per se, but making the most of this meeting. What if there is just when we meet up, there's an expectation for all of us to go around and think it ahead of time and give feedback, our observations, representing our sector, that we're representing the community to DC or the chief. Because I remember Chief Shear, he said, yeah, I value feedback. I mean, that's one of the big purposes of this meeting, where it's just deliberate. We all take a turn. There's a time limit, so nobody's monopolizing the time. We can keep the meeting moving, but just go around. There's this expectation to give feedback every single meeting. That's just an idea.
Yeah, we did that.
We do that at the end,
Yeah.
the member share, so I mean, we
Right,
can make it more
but-
formal.
Yeah, I mean, almost made like an expectation,
Mhm.
like
That's what it's
everybody.
supposed to be.
Mhm.
Right, I kind of like that because the way that it is, it's just saying, does anybody have anything? Sometimes people do, sometimes we
Yeah.
don't.
Right.
But if there is an expectation,
Right.
there's more of a mindfulness
Right.
around
Right.
bringing something.
Yeah,
You have any-
really good. Yeah. I mean, and obviously that's share. So if you have something else that you would like to share, but also just in your minds, if you're thinking, oh yeah, I had these conversations, you know, over the last month and this was brought up like 3 or 4 times, or I had to explain this or something, that'd be great. Well,
Did it used to be that way?
Yeah, we
used to.
that was actually an official thing we did at the meetings.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where you kind of drifted away.
Like
a little bit.
pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty stupid,
Yeah.
I mean, pre-COVID. So, yeah. I think it's something we just should get that.
Okay.
Joe's raising his hand.
We've always had this police advisory committee, but it never met for a long time. It was just not effective. And then we started having these situations 3, 4 years ago, very serious stuff going on. So we got together and decided, we gotta get together, bring the public, allow the public to come in, ask their questions at this level.
Yeah.
What's going on? It did a lot of good. It satisfied a lot of people. So that's tapered off, but we're still going and it's very important that we exist.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate advisory councils. Just because there's gonna be times where, you know, I mean, I may have to reach out to somebody in the faith community because we're having something going on and I have a contact, right? invaluable, the relationships that you can have with different people in advisory groups. So it's nice to have a person where you're like, I don't know what I should do, but I'm gonna reach out to this person.
Yeah, we did it clear back in Smitty days.
Yeah.
Okay,
Smith.
hopefully that helps a little bit.
It does. The thing around the events the police are already doing that we join, like, I like going to those when I can, but you guys are already there, so you're already there to answer questions.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm there to, I'm eye candy.
But you know what? Sometimes people are more comfortable talking to you than they are talking to
Right.
me. And so what you can do is say, hey, we have this advisory group. If stuff comes up and you're not comfortable talking to somebody in uniform, but you want to just chat about the police department in general, or you have questions, come to me.
Can we make them nameplates that say?
We totally can.
Cause I don't wanna give them a table because they'll probably be bored. Yeah, stuck behind the table. But if they had something, Carla, Springfield Police Advisory Committee, somebody may approach you to ask you something.
You know,
They
they have those little things you can put
That's-
under that says, ask me a question, and then you can put your name on there and you Springfield Advisory, and then you can tell, Joe doesn't want that, but you can have one. And, you know, ask me about what we do.
We don't
you know, or
want to
something
change
like
that
that.
one.
And then people could.
Or, yeah, a button that says, ask me about SPAC.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
But I mean,
Button maker?
yeah, probably have one. Some stuff, we probably have one.
Oh
So
my gosh, we used to. wonder
I
what happened
don't
to
doubt it in the least. So,
Next time I'll come over.
We did, we used to.
you have a button maker? There, maybe we can find somebody with a button.
Now, if we can get a bedazzler. Good.
Eric is like, I'm out. Buttons.
What's next?
What's next? What's
Okay,
next?
the chair, vice chair and BCC liaison positions. So I have Carrie's term expiring December of 2024. And Eric's term expiring December of 2024.
His.
But you,
it's automatically up.
you come into I hand you my crown.
Is that how it works? I didn't know everything.
Yeah. I night thee.
Yeah,
So now Eric is chair.
Eric is
Yeah.
chair.
That was.
Okay. And then,
Right.
so will that
And
mean
then
he'll
you
do
chair.
the BCC liaison? Or do we need to ask for volunteers for that?
I think volunteers are a better one.
Okay.
What is it?
It's the
Um,
city council.
yes, and so we discussed this a couple meetings back. You don't have to attend every city council meeting. The counselor that is on our committee and you are supposed to communicate about whether he thinks maybe you should attend a certain one if there's something specifically involved in police. Like I would think the police, the budget, yeah, if the budget meeting, you'll get emailed the agendas for council,
Yes,
right? And you
yes.
can read through, see if there's anything that's police that you might want to be aware of.
You can attend it every Monday by Zoom if you want. And some of it's very interesting.
Is it very interesting?
Some of yeah, when they try to hold Joe down. But
I won't go back to.
I know. It can also be attended in person, obviously, and during those times, it would be good to attend in person. I've enjoyed doing
Do we have any volunteers for that?
it. I can continue doing it if you don't.
Totally up to you.
Sorry.
Could go into every council meeting.
Are you gonna become a neighbor at large on this
I don't.
when we have an opening?
Yeah, so I know we got, it's kind of a tough topic, but I saw a thing that you're leaving council.
End of this year.
So then who will be,
Alan, and I was gonna talk, when we do the roundabout, I was gonna talk about my replacement.
At the end,
Oh,
you have sharing to do at the end.
Yes.
Perfect.
But now we have to get a vice chair. Any volunteers?
That's right, he did.
Daniel volunteered?
I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Man, you got a great imagination.
Right.
Responsibility.
Yeah, what are the responsibilities of the vice chair?
Sit there and look pretty.
Look pretty, if he can't make it, then you would.
You would, yes, you would
Okay.
help chair the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if
You're
that
in?
can be the substitute. I'm willing.
And then when he rotates out, it sounds like he's rotating out.
Inspired by Joe.
You're not supposed to.
Tell that part.
It's a year long.
It's 2 years, what I have listed. I have that you did it from 22 through 24.
Did I?
And that Eric did, yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
You've been on there.
Oh, my gosh,
And-
Like forever.
Yeah,
that's been,
and yeah, Eric's been 2 years, so
okay.
it's a 2-year term.
So technically, it's 4 years.
Yes,
2 as vice chair.
Yeah.
and then 2 as chair.
Okay, so basically,
Is you have to run, you have to apply. If just as you're going to becoming the chair, you have to
but
apply
my
to city council.
term as a SPAC member would end before.
You're eligible for a second
Oh, yeah.
You're
term.
eligible for a second term.
You get
So-
reappointed.
Yeah, so right now your term ends in December of 26, the same time your vice chair would end. You're eligible for a second term.
On 4
If,
years.
if for some reason you don't get it, then we'll have,
Sure.
yeah,
You'll get it.
but I'm sure you'll get it.
Let me hold off if it's
Okay.
that long term of a commitment. I don't know what the future holds.
Okay.
You can always
If I could fill in the next year, I mean, as long as this term's going on, I'm happy to do that. But beyond that, I'm just not sure.
Well, then too, is if your situation changes whatnot, all you have to do is notify them and tell them you have to back out.
Yeah,
And that's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
It never has been. There's.
are you back in?
Sure, if I have, sure. I'll do it.
You have the option, yeah.
Okay. So, and you're okay with BCC liaison? That doesn't have like, on my list, it doesn't have a time,
It
because you've
doesn't-
been doing it since
I've been-
2021.
No, I've been doing it before
Oh,
then.
okay,
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
all
I
right.
know, I get paid for it. That's why I keep doing.
Yeah, that's where. You ought to see my fat juicy account.
No, I don't even get dinner.
Neither do we.
I know.
Okay, now we have the scheduled
for-
policy
I
review.
know. That's why we got dinner.
What do you want to do first?
162 is control devices and techniques.
Did everybody get a chance to read these?
Oh, yes. It is.
Put you to sleep? Oh, I thought you were yawning.
I thrive on that stuff.
Okay.
I think that 1.6.2 is very well written. It's actually modeled, from what I can tell, almost verbatim from state statute.
That's exactly why you see, because I know some of the people, are, why'd you use that term?
Yeah.
And we use that term so it matches the
It's
state.
state statute. It's like the term of toxic chemicals, the term of tear gas, which is actually a brand name.
Yeah, and so like HIPS, the kinetic impact projectiles, we did not come up with that term, but we used it so it matched the state statute. So there was never any confusion
Right.
between the officers on what tool.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the officers, they don't carry orthochloral benzoyl malonate,
No.
which is.
Yeah.
CS gas, but they have it where they can use it.
Yeah.
So,
And then like the conducted electrical weapons, CEWs,
Yeah.
taser is a brand. Everybody knows it as a
Yes.
taser, but
Yes.
that's technically what it is.
And tear gas was put together originally was by GOEC, which is the General Ordnance Enforcement Corporation. And that was 1% CN. And the rest of it was kerosene, and the propellant was butane.
Oh my gosh.
But that was mace.
You don't use that
It was tear gas.
Are there questions about this one?
Talk about-
Oh, okay.
No questions on that one? No.
That's good. I think it's really well written.
The next one is 1.7.1 active violence incident response.
Formerly known as active shooter response, but we changed that because unfortunately, not all of these incidents involve someone with a gun. And, sometimes people have knives and other things. And so it's basically, if you read the definition, it's someone who has the ability to cause harm and is doing so at the moment, basically with unrestricted access. And we need to go in and change that. And so this is kind of a more all-purpose, more common term now for what used to be called active shooter response.
I'm just gonna mention there was the theory of using the maximum allowable amount of force in the shortest period of time. And that was where there was some case law that says, if you're authorized to use this much force to stop that issue actively happening, is that you should be using that maximum amount in the shortest period of time, so it's not prolonged.
Oh, yeah, in these types of situations, because of the unrestricted access to victims,
Yeah.
in our training, the officers are trained to end that threat as soon as possible. And obviously, these situations are like, it's the fact that the person has the unrestricted access and they have weapons and they're actively hurting people and have access to more people. So it's not a time when we're like, we're gonna stress de-escalation or something like that, right? This is, you've all seen the videos. That's not that time. And so, yeah, that's what the officers are trained. And our training has evolved over time. There used to be the older model where the officers would group up and they would wait and then they would go in. And now it's like, no, that doesn't, you just go in. You go in and that's the expectation. That's our training. The officers have active shooter or active violence, incident response training. And that's,
They didn't get
hopefully
that
we never have to use it. Huh?
They didn't get that when you go there.
Any questions on that?
I think well read.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've gone through and redone a lot of our policies. To kind of make sure that they're in line with kind of best practice and everything. And I mean, it's good. I know sometimes officers get frustrated. We have so many policies. I'm like, yeah, but it's a good guideline. It's just, you stay right here and then you know you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then we're all covered. So that's why we try to write really good policies so that everybody stays in the guidelines.
So Jamie, did you guys ever change? I know there was talk about it quite a while back that on your defensive tactics team or use of force members, do they have the opportunity when there is a use of force incident to review those to gauge methods were used and how effective they were?
Yeah, so Sergeant Wilson is our tactics instructor. And so that's one of the things that we do now is we look at, and sometimes our videos can be used for training, but then they also review videos just from across the country to see, and they review different methods for doing different, either whether it's de-escalation, whether it's control hold or something like that. And so now they put together like kind of a lesson plan, and then the chief now will review it, make sure that we think it's falling in line with what our expectations are. So yeah, it's a lot. Sergeant Wilson also happens to be our detective sergeant, and so he reads every report that comes through the department as well. So he's able to pick up on a lot of things where like, oh, well, this didn't go as we planned, maybe on a use of force. Let's see why not. And if it's something that we can, adjust our training or just make people aware of or something like that. So he does a really good job with that.
So the big focus was on the focus blows.
Yeah, I don't like that word.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I don't.
We took it out.
The punching.
Yeah, we don't say the term focus blows anymore. I don't know where it came from.
It was
I want officers to articulate what they're doing.
good.
And so if they strike somebody, they need to articulate how they struck them, why they struck them,
Hand strike,
what the
strike.
outcome was.
Yeah.
And it's just as simple as that. If you force, unfortunately, in some situations it's necessary, and when it's justified, you articulate why you did it and how you did it. And then the community doesn't have like unmet expectations because they're like, what is that? That doesn't, what is a focused blow?
Right.
Yeah.
It's good.
So I think that it was something that had been used for a super long time. So they were very used to writing it. And so over time, probably within the last 18 months or so, we've really gotten rid of that to the fact that we were we would the folks that read the reports, if they saw it, then they would, send it back and say, no, you need to change this. You need to actually articulate what it is that you're doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Hand strike versus a knee strike.
Yeah, just what it is. Yeah.
Okay,
Right on.
for member
That's a good one,
information
member
share,
share.
we'll go back to the,
Can I do one more thing for
Yeah.
you, information share? So I think actually, one of the last times or the first time I was here, it was because it was somebody's last day and I read something. I
Did
don't
you?
remember who it was.
It was probably Michael Bean or Barry Lind.
That's who it was. But tonight, it's Joe's last night. And so on,
Nice.
and on Monday, I was in council when, it was your last night of council as well.
Remember?
So.
They probably didn't bring you cookies, so.
Yes. Huh?
I said they probably didn't bring you cookies, though.
No, they didn't bring me.
Okay.
Do you know what though? So I do have to say
So you
that.
got me a salmon pole and a gun case.
So right there, did you hear the gift that you just got? I come from Portland, right?
Oh, yeah,
There's
that
no city council members getting gun cases. Right? So I'm sitting there and I mean, I love being down here. I love the smaller town and everything like this. And I'm just like, this is a vast departure from, yeah. So I just kind of had to laugh a little bit inside. Like, it's just been really interesting to go from a bigger city to a smaller city and just, it's amazing how much faster you can get stuff done here.
Yeah.
And you get
Get
that
cool
kind of stuff.
gifts.
You get cool gifts.
And it was coincidence because it's a double gun casing. It's for 2 guns. And the day before, I actually just bought 2 new shotguns. So, and a pistol, but it's not.
Yeah, I did laugh a little bit. I was like, what? Not important anymore. All right, so in honor of Joe's last night with SPAC, Chief Shearer wrote you a little memo and I'm going to. Counselor Pishnieri, this letter is to recognize and highlight the invaluable contributions you made as a longtime member of the Springfield Police Advisory Committee. In 2017, you began your first term after being appointed to this position. As the appointed city council member, you represented our elected officials on the committee. During your service as a committee member, you offered counsel to the chief of police, the committee, and other elected city officials regarding public safety and neighborhood livability issues up through December of 2024. As a longtime Springfield community member and a member of city government, you provided a range of perspectives that enhanced the committee's effectiveness and helped strengthen public safety in our community. During your tenure, you experienced firsthand the changing expectations of law enforcement in terms of how they police the communities they serve. Throughout your term, you were at the forefront of guiding the Springfield Police Department and this community through a series of difficult challenges. Events occurring both nationally and locally had impacted community trust in policing that affected us right here at home. As a result, the committee's mission evolved quickly, requiring demanding and sometimes difficult work done by all of its members. Your commitment to public service on this committee and the difficult work you engaged in since 2017 have made a lasting impact on how this police department operates today. You are to be commended for your actions in support of the work of the men and women of the Springfield Police Department and improving the level of trust the people of Springfield have in their police department. Sincerely, Chief Andrew Shearer.
Nice.
No, it's not. Yeah, but you can put your chief's coin in it if you want.
Oh, it's a chief coin.
There you
I
go.
put that with my collection.
There you go. Anyway, congratulations, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Now,
Now, member information, we're gonna go back to the old days. Without any-
The sergeant.
I know, we didn't give you homework, we know you're not prepared, so don't.
Okay.
Padding.
So my observation in the last 2 months is one of the worst kind of calls brought out the best in SPD. And one of our church members, who is also an officer with SPD, lost his 4-month-old. Horrible, absolutely horrible call for any officer, an infant death, and plus the child of an officer. And but what followed in the days after was amazing. I mean, just one of the fellow officers, not command staff, just fellow officer who's been there with the department 15 years. I mean, he stepped in, got a GoFundMe page, was visiting the family every single day, being there, taking them food, being the gateway to the family for the whole department. I mean, it was just a well-oiled care machine, and over $21,000 came in. I was just touched. And DC Resh, I mean, you ought to be proud of your department. I mean, just all the love, all the care. I was really touched by all that.
Yeah.
And it just highlights the worst brought out the best.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And the community support, like you said, $21,000 to go fund
Yeah,
page and
I mean,
like
your city councilors
just-
contributing and.
people who
Yeah.
had retired from, not only from the department, but from other city departments and stuff. I mean, it was impressive to see the city rally around. Yeah.
Yeah, they met their goal in like 3 days.
I know. It was actually 24 hours that they met their goal.
Yeah.
It would have been like another 40% over the goal or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all said and done. Yeah.
I don't have any updates related to landlines specifically. I was here on Tuesday, Councilor Visionary and Councilor Mo for a Team Springfield meeting. It was really excellent. And a good overall collaboration meeting on just disaster preparedness and emergency response. More specifically to the ice storm from about a year ago, which is amazing to think about. But I was really grateful and excited to see the new Springfield emergency response application that's going to be rolled out, at least internally to the organizations. I think once the city's ready to really help have a more clear understanding on the ground at the neighborhood level, kind of in those types of events, what type of resources, coordination, help support the community. Just, I was really impressed to see the city take a lead in that.
And just on a side note, your park rangers do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad to help them any way that we can.
Yeah, the officers appreciate them and, all of they do a great job. So pass that along. Our thanks.
Thank you. They're well trained.
Yeah, I see them out whenever I'm out with my dog.
Good.
They make me feel safe and kind of to piggyback on that, because the weather is getting bad again. I've got to talk to some people and we're like, oh, bad weather's coming. And then I got to share how impressed I was last year during the ice storm. The stories that I heard around, the police officers driving around and like helping people cut up trees. And people who didn't know that, like, oh, that's right, to protect and serve. Like,
Yeah.
we forget that
Yeah.
that's part of it. And so to remind, I get, the last couple of weeks, I've got to remind people that there's a service here that is not just because somebody's breaking into my house.
Yeah.
And, so that's kind of, got to have those conversations recently.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gearing up for the weather again. Hopefully we don't have to use any of that. Yeah. Yep, we can take a break from that.
Well, I have Rise and Shine. It's the biggest caregiving agency in Springfield. We supporting the most vulnerable adults here, and we do call the police quite often, almost every other day. Lots of calls, so we get a lot of experience, a lot of interactions with the officers. Sometimes it's really great, and I've been really impressed. Other times I have questions. So I have a lot of experience with a lot of these situations that we talk about.
Yeah.
So I can bring up some more feedback or kind of like what we experienced in our group homes. The biggest concern that I see, the pattern that I see is like the violence response situation, for example, is like, we've probably called the police a handful of times in the last year that one of our clients was actively threatening to stab one of our caregivers. And it's really hit or miss, like the kind of response we get. Sometimes it's taken really seriously, and then sometimes they come out and they say this term that like the clients have a disability, therefore they're not like
Mentally culpable.
Yeah. And we had a situation that was really sad this year where an officer came out and said that when a client was threatening to hurt one of my staff and actually stabbed him with a pen. And the officer kind of dismissed it. And then within a few hours that client actually stabbed one of my employees and almost killed them. They were hospitalized for a few weeks, and it was really terrible. And I wasn't sure if like the officers find out about that like later, or, if like maybe they get like retrained, like, hey, that was like not the right judgment call. So I mean, I see a lot of really good things, but I also see like, hey, this didn't play out the way that maybe it should have.
Yeah.
But we do so many calls, and most recently the missing person was one of my clients. And it was great to see that there was a really great response, taking it very seriously in that situation. So yeah, it's kind of my experience.
Yeah, I appreciate that's a very difficult situation when police are involved and we know that in order to arrest somebody for a crime, they have to have a culpable state. And when we don't have that, it's really difficult because to take them to jail for what, right? And so it's one of those kind of gray areas where we have limited options, but it's something that we can discuss as well. There's different types of holds and that kind of stuff that maybe can temporarily do that. It's not going to long-term solve that problem for you though. Because that person would just be returned. to you.
Well, what's great about it though is when, I would say 95% of the time when they're actually arrested, it does prompt the county to do something different.
Mhm.
And it's like our opportunity to move them, and it's the only way that I can get them into like the SACU. But if the police don't respond, then the county doesn't take it as seriously.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of like where, I mean, I understand the police are like, what good is the jail going to do with someone who has a developmental disability, doesn't understand when they're hurting somebody?
Yeah.
But it does actually prompt a response from the caseworkers to do something different.
So
So
to
it's
do
like-
the same thing if they put them on a police officer hold?
I think so. It has to be like 72 hours for it to make a difference.
Thank you. Jim?
Let's see. It's been a long run. Started council in 2004. And, but this agency, I mean, I helped okay the purchase of this building, the building of the jail. I helped, design part of it, different parts of it. I helped with the, policies, building of the policies for the operation of the corrections facility. And the courthouse part of it, all of it was just being hands-on, was just been absolutely amazing. And it was kind of funny, you know, my mother is here in town, she's 90. She lives in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach, but she's here to visit and she was able to be there on Monday. And this afternoon, I took her to the, you know, she was like, oh, I'm so proud of you, and stuff. And, but I took her to the front of the, to jail into the, and showed her bricks that had my name up there as, you know, Counselor Pictionary and the Pictionary family. We bought bricks to help build the jail. So I was able to show her that, which actually was really impactful. I didn't realize how impactful it was because it's the first time I looked. So.
No, I think I have one too, and I don't know that I've ever went and looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, the downside is they didn't spell counselor correctly, but it's okay. We did them with an S instead of a C, but I never noticed that, so. But, you know, the things in the
School
community that I thought, you know, it's like one of the reasons why I became a counselor is actually for on the safety end of things, is that mid 2003, I was taking my family home, Tony and Megan, and we've known her for years. Her son grew up with my son, four doors down. And it was one of those super drizzly nights, and it was like a coastal night where you can see the mist coming down like this on the streets. And we're coming down Main Street, coming back from your little bowling, and it was just this yellow tunnel. And we're driving along, I'm all fat, dumb and sassy, driving along, and all of a sudden, one of those street lights became a traffic light that turned red. Because it was the same amber as the street lights were, those low pressure sodium lights. Slammed on my brakes, I said something, and probably not good. And I said, I wish they would do something about it. My daughter said, who's they? And I said, the city. She goes, that's not a they. And I said, like the city council, they run the city, they need to fix that. And she turned right around and said, Dad, you've always told us that if you see a problem, you need to be part of the solution. And I'm like, and she's like 12. And I'm like, what? And so my wife laughed, and my son jumping up and down says, yeah, Dad, yeah. Anyway, and I decided, okay, fine. And the very next day, Sid Lycan, who was the mayor at the time, my son and his son, Zach, were practicing soccer at Ridgeview. Yeah, and I think maybe your buddy was there. And he leaned over and said, hey, do you ever think about being a counselor? Last night. So anyway, that's kind of started it, said, okay, that's my goal, is to fix that. And just like 3 months ago, is we finally had got all the street lights in the entire city switched out to LED lights, which has been my goal for 20 years. And I am a firm believer in that there's people that have had car crashes because of that. There've been people that are probably cited for running stoplights for that. But more importantly, since we started working, the LED lights were put in on Main Street much earlier than the rest of the community. But since those lights have been installed, marked on there is that one had a vehicle versus pedestrian, but that one, which used to be kind of common. And, but those types of accidents have stopped, and I'm just praying, and I'm thinking it's because they can see color now, because those low pressure sodium lights took away the color spectrum. And I think people are much more visible now, and the accidents have taken it down. But pretty cool, so. But in Sacred Heart at River Bend, shoveling a shovel in the ground, saying, here, we're gonna put it in the hospital. There's big things being part of it have been so rewarding. And much like this committee, it's been so rewarding to see other people decide, okay, well, let's come on in and let's talk about things and see about being part of positive stuff. So it's super rewarding, and being part of this has been really important to me. And so I really appreciate everybody in the agency for putting up with me. Yeah, I don't normally sugarcoat things, but so anyway, but speeding on the end of Main Street, east end of Main Street has been a problem. I actually made mental note of that today when I saw 2 cars coming inbound and they were going a minimum of 60. And it's like, it'd be great to see if we can't get a little bit of enforcement out there in the evenings, you know, the 5 o'clock, between 5 and 7, be good. Other than that, haven't heard of much crime going on out there. Usually I do through Facebook.
Yeah.
But some partial thefts, but not nearly as much as they have been in the past. So that's it.
Who's taking your spot?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Alan Stout. He is a squared away guy. He is a family man, and he owns a business, a very successful business. Young guy, common sense. He is a listener, and then he also offers up. He doesn't like hold back, and he'll offer up from his perspective, and it's going to be very objective. I'm really impressed. I've been working with him for about 1.5 years now. Trying to get him integrated into the things that are going on in the city. So that way, when he comes in next month, he'll be able to have some background on a lot of that stuff. And he and I just chat back and forth all the time. But Alan Stoughton, I think he's going to do Springfield very well.
So he's taking over your ward.
Yes. And
Is it up to the mayor to decide this?
well, and that's where I'm going to have to hold you guys to secrecy. So. Which never worked for
It's,
I think it's being recorded.
end of recording. So,
Yeah, on a piece.
it is a mayoral appointment that occurs after the first of the year. And I'm guessing that there's a strong possibility that he may be on this committee.
Well, I think Allison emails those to us, so we'll find out.
Yes, he's set up on the email system already.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you can go ahead and shoot him that.
Okay.
But, and I'm on the Metropolitan Wastewater Management Commission, and he may be on that.
Okay.
And then he may be on the board of directors of El Rapa, which I'm on as well. And then the finance judiciary committee is on that probably,
Okay.
but none of it's positive.
See that?
Hmm?
See that?
And he will be a commissioner on the CETA board of both the Downtown Development Agency and the Glenwood Development Agency. That's about it.
Just that.
It's a big shoes.
Yeah, this, I'm trying to think now, this was the last 2 months, the school lock-in, not lockdown. You know, I'm Thurston, live near, Thurston Elementary, my kid goes to Thurston Elementary and one to Thurston Middle School. And just proud of the police officers, you know, SROs got to their schools, and then there were, I think every school had a vehicle parked out right in front of the school when the kids were released, and I know that made my kids feel safe. I think it made some of the parents feel safe. So just kind of appreciate how that all happened and how quickly the response was on it. I had obviously a little more information on it than some people did at the time. I was a little disappointed in the school and how they communicated to the parents, because we weren't sure if the kids were gonna be released on the time of the end of the school, or if it was supposed to be earlier, or if they're gonna stay longer. And so the information was sent out like right when school gets out. Oh yeah, your kids are coming out at this time. But that had nothing to do with the Springfield Police. So anyway, just, I thought that you guys did a great job and was, appreciative of everyone out there.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's kind of been I'll knock on wood, slowed down a little bit, but for a couple of weeks, it was like a trend that there's multiple schools
Nationwide, yeah.
nationwide are
Yeah.
getting these threats and you can't ever not take them seriously. But it's such an impact, especially when it like, can you pick your kid up? Can you not pick your kid up? And, and then that's a thing too, where information will start one way and it'll just take off.
Yeah.
And that's where, obviously we're constantly monitoring and trying to put out corrected information so that we don't end up with something that's just so vastly incorrect. Because that could be really stressful for
Yeah.
parents and kids, so.
If you do.
Oh, how about you, Terry?
Your turn.
Your turn. Yeah, no, I also was at the Team Springfield the other night, and yeah, there was some very interesting conversation around that. I'm on the Springfield Utility Board, and so we were asked some pretty pertinent questions and had some good comments and survived so far. So we'll see what happens.
But there were good comments and good questions.
Yes, I do too. I do too.
Oh, that's right. Can I add something?
Sure.
On, I think you mentioned a little bit earlier on the application the city has developed, it's called SARA, SERA. And it is, I'm really excited about how that's gonna unfold because it's got the different areas in which they can look geographically in the city. If there's specific problems, then it allows all the resources to focus on that spot instead of saying Springfield's got an ice storm going on as opposed to 67, 68, 69, they've got issues or those lines down. So it also will cover neighbors or neighborhoods that who needs wood, who needs propane, who needs food, who needs water. All that stuff is going to be able to be, they call it live
Yes,
as it's happening. And it's really exciting and
it's gonna be a good thing.
it's going to be great. Yeah, super good.
Who's building that out?
City of Springfield, and it's up.
But we built it?
It's built.
Is it formed after another city that's done something similar or?
I'm not, I don't know the historical perspective on that. I know that, one of the IT guys
It's not,
went with it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think he's put it together from different really good ones as opposed to just one. And it's got like 8 different categories of care that you can punch up. So you can literally have, hopefully it'll be integrating some, with the potential of mass texts or text looking for a response, return with the response by water or return.
Yeah.
And they'll actually be able to see who needs what resources. It's
And is this something Ken Fogarty's?
actually, well, he's the one that's kind of saying what things are needed or what things, in disaster. But the IT guy, comes from a perspective of, yes, it's all through disaster, but it's all disasters,
Okay.
whether it be earthquake, whether it be ice, whether it be storm related or whatever. It's very flexible. It's really exciting. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I'm sure you'll see it soon. But
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
it's really cool.
Yeah,
and again, my understanding is that it's, it's internal use.
It's totally, yeah,
It's
it's
not
internal use. It's not gonna be out on the web.
Public, just,
right.
Yeah.
But it is a web-based application.
Yes, and it's, the idea of it is to be able to let it expand out to where limited inquiries can be made or limited input, but it's mostly people that like call takers, and whatnot, can do direct input. Right, it's really cool.
Just a way to take all of the information that's coming in, and put it on a map.
It's, and it's,
But you can see it,
Yes.
basically, like, this is what's needed here, this is what's needed there,
Yes.
based on whether it's coming in through police, whether it's coming in through fire, whether it's coming in through city, whether it's coming in through sub, and just be able to, so that whoever's running emergency operations
yes,
has a better idea of what needs to be done, and then they have a better ability to then document, track what's been taken care of.
see cluster issues in the
Yep.
city where it be just problem spots.
And have that information provided to field staff.
Yes,
Mhm.
With the singular communication stream.
Yes.
and they can do it right from their iPads,
Some.
and then it'll all be backup powered.
Mhm.
Yes. Looking forward to that. But it's not gonna be, I remember, our folks, I think Nancy and I think Sean both said it is a city thing and we don't want to be the repository for other agencies on feeding the city with that information in regards to, it's okay, they can use it, but we don't want to be, the guardian of their information.
Oh, yeah, like what
Right.
we've done and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mostly, especially like from sub, it can be so complicated and so much information that it's like, no, that's, someone needs to worry about that,
Yeah,
school district, and et cetera.
yeah. Sounds good.
I just wanted to say that since officers have been seen more out in the Glenwood area, there's a lot less open drug use going on.
Well, it helps that they can arrest people for it now too.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
yeah. Helpful. But then again, they also have the options too, right? If people are deflection eligible or something like
Right.
that, so.
But just the officers being seen out there, though, there's a lot less of that kind of stuff going on.
Our organized retail theft stuff is still going very.
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
everybody's loving that.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Businesses, it's
Yes.
been great. So
Yeah.
the team has done a great job. Sergeant Potter, if you don't know him, Kyle Potter is he's also a professional sergeant's, professional standard sergeant. It's getting late. He's somebody, but he does a really good job. And, so yeah, that team, and it's expanding, more and more officers are joining it, but our retail partners are great. I'm really hoping that the funding for that continues, because that's the only way we can do it, is we pay people on overtime to come in and do it.
And feedback wise, always got more crap to share, but
Yeah.
feedback wise, so I have direct contact with the loss prevention folks
Mhm.
from Walmart,
Yeah,
Lowe's, Target, all those.
Yep.
And I've been getting texts and emails with kudos saying, this is amazing.
it's having a big impact.
Yeah,
How long is it funded for with the grant that it's on right now? 1 year,
one year.
and it started in October.
Well, technically it started in June. We didn't get awarded the money for a couple of months after that. And so, there's always that little bit of a lag. So we're hoping that the state redoes it again and we get it. We got a large sum of money, which was great. And they've been using it really well with equipment and personnel and buying stuff that helps do the missions and all that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping that we at least get enough to continue with overtime funding for it. And the loss prevention folks have been awesome. They've been sending their folks down from other areas. We've gotten requests from other surrounding agencies like, okay, how do you set this up? Can you come up, run one with us, show us how you're doing it? And what the retailers are seeing is that, it used to just be, they'd walk into, Jerry's, or they'd walk out with a table saw. I mean, nobody cared. There was
Cart full
nothing,
of
yeah.
stuff.
And that is starting to diminish. I think when we looked at the numbers the last time, the numbers of thefts, I think weren't like hugely drastically different, but the dollar value was significantly different and people were still getting caught. And so that's starting to go down as well. But it's definitely saving, and the legislature has changed now to organized retail theft is obviously it's a national problem. And Oregon is trying to impact that by, they ramped up some of the laws as far as organized retail theft. So when we can start to put these cases together, it used to be you could go steal in Multnomah County, Washington County, Lane County, and they all had to prosecute them separately. Right now, we can aggregate all of those together. And there's some things that we have to do that, but you can turn a theft 3 into a theft 1, and people are starting to get like some actual legitimate held accountable for some of these things.
That's good.
And so hopefully,
Oh, it's great.
I know, it just drives me crazy. I'm like, that just makes everything more expensive. So, and actually, a lot of our folks have been taking those, that's I think where at least 2 of our deflection cases came from. Because people who maybe just their first or second time with shoplifting, and they're saying that they're doing it solely because of their habit
Oh.
and to support that. And so again, officers are trying. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else, anything? Or I turn this over?
Everybody eat.
Yes.
Well, let's adjourn,
Sandwich.
let's adjourn the meeting
I'm
first.
adjourning at 7:25 and I am adjourning.
Okay.
Chick-fil-A, ciao.